created mass confusion, hatred, war, pestilence. The Illuminati. The Illuminati is real. How do I know? Well, about 5 years ago, they offered me to join them, the Brotherhood. Evil as hell. They're black energy. They're dark energy. And they're using rituals. They've been using rituals for thousands of years. Okay? They are very dark. They are in the Roman Catholic Empire. Why did Rome fall and put in the Vatican? Huh? Am I attacking the Roman Empire? Yeah, I will. I think they're dark as hell. You know, they put a mediator in for God. That's why I'm not Catholic. Look at what they've done, the mediator, the priest, you know. And uh, yeah, I'm not a Catholic, really Christian. I'm a mystic Christian that really thinks the Bible was miswritten by the Illuminati. They crucified all the disciples that didn't like that meaning of peace and love and brotherly ways. But here I get these documents, and I had them come in on LinkedIn. She had to dump them off. She said, "What's happened to the Australian housing market?" And it was always good, you know. What happened there? You could get into speculations and ideas, but it's pretty easy to see. We've formulated money trade systems called Western Union, Wells Fargo, and stuff like that, right? These are systems that we can transfer money across to Australia. Well, Helen Edwards, I don't care if anybody doesn't like her. You just don't listen to her mind. She's CBS. She's always bitching. She was trying to get me through to understand this. And as a woman, I understood it. If you want to get into Australian Parliament, nobody'd listen. She had all these documents. CIA has them. They've been off booking and trading billions in money laundering throughout Australian property and real estate. And they've done it here too. It's all money laundering. And I had them come to me, brother, and want to join us. And I was looking at all these blood sacrifices. There's some dark rituals in that organization. So I talked to Beverly in England. Beverly, she studied the economics. There's no silver in Britain. It's all fuck. She says it's friggin' fresh air. Yeah, she's an economist, and she says, "Look at it. You can see it. It's in Rome. It's the Da Vinci codes. The Da Vinci Code. It's in France. All those symbols, ancient symbols, go back to the dark orders of the Egyptians and like that. Very dark. And they're sort of satanic. They're very satanic. They and I look at the picture. They're very wealthy men through Europe, and they're in the Roman diocese. Priests, everything. I mean, it's pretty sick. So I'm attacking. I'm not attacking anybody. But to be spiritual in this world is better than being any religion, because they get in there and they polluted it. So you can see the attacks on the spiritual, not religious people everywhere, because we're very liberal in our thinking of our human gender and sexuality and everything. We are spiritual. We're love, and God is love. And the Gnostic Gospels of Jesus were the original. We found them in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they were even looking at reincarnation that we know is real. So I combine Buddhism with Christianity and everything, the Christian mystic. And they don't want us to know this, our empowerment. Look at Revelations, what it said. And I think I can see things happening. The beast will rise up in the west. That's the oil companies and the profiteers. And the rise up in the ocean. And there'll be false prophets. Oh, hell, there's a lot, and they're all on YouTube, confusing you. And they're just flooding in ideas, attacking women's rights, attacking everything. So the Illuminati are very powerful, and they're a masculine energy that the earth needs to tame. We need the feminine energy, the higher chakra powers. And little grandmother Letitia, she knows. Yeah, she knows. Little grandmother knows the tribe of many colors. Yeah, plus this world to balance out this masculine over edge that Lucifer put on Earth. Yeah, Lucifer is a fallen angel of the Lord, but all the angels have a twin natural energy of feminine, masculine. So look at the amount of technology. Has it got us anywhere? Well, it has in some ways, but it's made our life more complicated. Life used to be simple at one time. So, technology. CEOs of companies burning out, over inflation, just increasing and increasing. We got money laundering and everything, and criminal drugs, chemicals. You can go back to Orwell. You can go back to a lot of things, and all divisions in our world. It's not one big peaceful world anymore. India hates China. China hates Canada. Canada hates China. Trade agreements shot down. Can't get along. You got a war in Ukraine and all sorts of garbage. And that's what Lucifer does. Yeah, the Illuminati does. They divide and they start controlling it. So they are men of God, of Lucifer. They are. They're wearing red robes and stuff, but they're priests and stuff that have been raping children and women for thousands of years. Catholicism is a part of the picture. And, the right to take away man's connection to God. There's only one God, isn't there? But they've divided it up. Lucifer does that. He's a divider. And it's a dark world. There's only one energy that God gives. The loving God of love. First Nations, indigenous people always knew. Do we define God as God? Well, the Buddhists don't point God. They say the whole. In Zen, everything comes down to zero. No mind, no thought, no being. A man got divided up. You got Nietzsche saying God does not exist. You got psychiatrists coming up with a chemical imbalance caused by genetics. They're what do you call it? Eugenics. Influx of Nazis. They believe God. You can read it. They believe God and everything. There was a psychology come out, and that's Marianne Williamson's psychology that was needed for the earth, called the Book of Miracles. And Jesus talked about miracles, and so did many people have done miracles in this world. And they're telling you to detune it. They don't believe it. They don't want you to believe in it. They don't want you to believe in God made you whole or the spirit of God made you whole. We need a new religion for this planet. Actually, it's the old religion that unites all indigenous people with the inner wisdom they had. In the beginning was the word, right? When I went into North America, and grandfather and grandmother would transcend the information from one person to another. All indigenous tribes did. But what do we do? Write it down on paper, and it's a miracle. You know, when the Spanish came to North America, the shaman was the one that could see those ships. And this is the sort of thing that was interesting. They were alien to them, but they were there. But they only knew what they knew. They couldn't see beyond it. And I think that's us. We're getting over flooded with information thrown in different ways. We've had Donald Trump in. He ran down, and everybody buys into this stuff. In the water, there's ripples. What is this? And he looked beyond and he could see these ships. But the native people could not see them. They came to the land. They came in and they killed people, killed the Aztecs, the Incas, just wiped out tribes. They wiped out North American tribes too. Colonialization of Spain. And they used to pray 3 Hail Marys and crack a child's skull in because it's a heathen. Burnt witches at the stake. The Spanish Inquisition. You know, we've been brutal animals. We're human beings. That God gave us some beautiful vestige of love and kindness. But Lucifer is the dark fallen one. He was a jealous angel. He was cast out of heaven's throne. And he was cast down. He was in the Garden of Eden. There was no woman shame. There was no sexual shame. Sex was a divine energy given by God for man to feel. Like love and sex is beautiful, isn't it? We've shamed it. We made it into pornography and we made it into garbage. And Eve and Adam were naked in the garden. He knew that he needed a woman. He knew he needed a counterbalance. Well, the counterbalance was he sent Eve. This is written by a woman, and I believe it because I love women. My wife and I don't get along. She has mental health problems. I call it dementia for bad medicine. You know, GPs don't do anything, but that's another story. But I don't hate her. I married her because I loved her, but I didn't think it'd go that way. And I think it's hatred, women's hatred for themselves. Look at all the repressive comments on here about women. They're the most God-given thing a man needs. You try to make life on your own, guys. You need a woman. A woman can settle out a man's arguments with a more congenial way of doing things. She can put you on the right track. When you got children coming in, she'll say, husband, no, don't buy that. That's why men don't make it on their own. They're just lone coyotes. That's all lies. You can't make it in the future. You love your wife and respect her. And put her above you, not below, above you. Love her like God taught you to love, with all your heart, all your soul. If I go into a church, what I notice that I need, and it seems to be lacking in everything, sacredness. I was going to the church I was born in Christendom. It's an Anglican church in Collingwood. I'd stay there for 2 services. I couldn't get enough sacredness. But shamanic rituals and indigenous people have sacredness in everything they do. When they hunt, they shoot, they take one clear shot, they kill the animal. With sacredness, they release the spirit within. This is indigenous Inuit. So when an Inuit seal is killed, everybody eats it because it's a tribal thing. And there's a sacredness to all death and all life. That's why we have a funeral, but it's a ritual. It can be a sacred thing, but we don't put sacredness in. We don't know sacredness. We're busy all the time. We're people that God did not make to be in fear. So I heard a psychologist on here, and I question it. You have to make meaning out of everything. Meaning. The meaning of life. The meaning of everything. So Zen starts going into Zenzen and things, one hand clapping. What's that mean? What's that mean? 0. Japanese 0. No thought, no mind. That's impossible to attain. Is it? Is it? Isn't it impossible to obtain it? It's a practice. You gap it for a while. You expand the gaps. Dr. Wayne W. Dyer started this. He started the Lord's Prayer, and he had a meditation, the gap. It's a start to the practice of constant thinking. The Kant came out, and he was probably Illuminati too. I think, therefore I am. That was man's whole friggin' problem. The thought form. So you make judgments on older people. I talked to a businessman there that's in his 70s. He's still making money. But he doesn't sit there and think all the time. He's made a lot of money. I don't think too much about things. I allow things to happen. The universe has to have release. So you got confused on the path. You think non-action. Napoleon Hill talks about this energy. He talks about a godly way of doing business. So Dale Carnegie, old school, right? Well, the United States is founded on God we trust and God we love, and not drugs and drug pushing and opioids and all the junk they're putting on television, just flooding us with garbage. Breaking Bad and all these. We seem to have a pleasure to watch people go under. That's a Roman sort of a cultural thing, to let the Christians suffer. And we have a culture of pain. We like people suffering. Get them down. That's how our television is, our news, our movies, to get you angry. Think of that. The anger in life. So how do you live in a world when they're hurting you and throwing you around, stealing money on you, put you down, there's no equality, you get a lawyer? How do you live? And then they tell you to go into a nursing home. You've lived out your life with all defaults because of the Illuminati. They've controlled the Canadian system. They put psychiatry in as evil as hell. The way they do it, the methodology of psychiatry is evil, and so are drug companies. So are chemical companies. So are oil companies. All tethered together. What did the Buddha teach you? No attachments. But we're attached to everything that's evil. Oil companies, energy sector, oil, Rockefeller, Rothschild, probably Illuminati. So I even look at it wasn't as bad as this the revolution of industrialism with Henry Ford and the production line. But the production line was 40 hours a week. Henry Ford had some common sense. People can't keep working like that. Now people are working more and more. Inflationary cycles are up high. People had it pretty easy. And after World War II, we had the Versailles Treaty, right? And that was the mistake. We learned a mistake there. We were making Germany pay back for attacking, starting the war in World War One. So Hitler comes out and he does the same damn thing as what they're doing now. Start war, hate. And he's pointing at gypsies, he's pointing at Jewish people that had the means of production, which was a capitalistic thing, but they were the chosen people of God, the Jewish nation, Israel. And the Bible said they will rise, and they did rise and made an Israeli state. So you got the Palestinian war, you've got all these wars. You've had the 7-Day War. You know, Israeli people are very strong people. The Israelites. And they were massacred by Hitler. But you got anti Semitism, you got it all back. Nazis everywhere. What's that? So when history always repeats itself. When you talk about intelligence, like Jordan Peterson, I was born in 55, April 12th. That day, in April 12th, 1955, I look at the numbers there. Polio vaccine came out. Polio was wiped out. They started vaccinating. Don't have polio as much now. And in 1955, about 2 weeks later, Einstein died. Einstein came up with relativity and everything. But let's talk about genius. It's a humanitarian system of he cared about the world. He warned about the nuclear attack on Japan and what the consequences of the building up this nuclear system was. He warned. But we had the Cold War in the 1950s and 60s. Now we're back to it. We are on the tipping point of nuclear war. But we're growing around really well now in North America, fighting each other. It's serious. We're fighting each other. They got missiles pointed at. It's not much difference. It's worse now. Got a lot of enemies. Communists. You got Russia. You're breaking trade agreements with China. You've got a nasty boy there in North Korea. And you got Iran. So you got into your churches and your camps and your ideologies. And they're in their little camps. It doesn't matter who, what, or anything anymore. Because God told us to love one another. But we put everybody into camps. The camp groups. Yeah. And I'm a communist. I'm a capitalist. And then we've gone extreme. But we don't look at ourselves. Take a look at yourself before you look at me. We don't look at ourselves and what we do to each other. This housing market thing is causing homelessness and cruelty at an alarming rate in North America. They put in shelters, and they're not good. They're run by narcissists. There's all sorts of narcissists now. What's caused narcissism? Social media. Likes. The ego has just gone into deflation. So is the economy. The psychology of a narcissist. It's pretty easy. It's giving reward for something you don't deserve. And that makes you privileged. You're always saying that boomers worked. Yeah, I worked at farm jobs. I worked at agriculture. I did everything. I never got to college by love and a debt load like you have. You're in debt. Indebtment. And it's always been that way. Usury, the church called it. Usury, God called it. But the banks didn't tell you that. So everybody doesn't own anything. Think about it. It's just what the Bible says. Gold was gold, and you can buy things. Then Nixon comes and starts the war in Vietnam. And everything started to divide up, even the hippies. We had people going into peace, and other people wanting free concerts. And egoic people and spiritual people. So we are bipolar socially. And we're the outcasts, our spiritual, soulful sisterhood and brotherhood of individuals. We're all cast aside. We've awoken to something was wrong in this world. I have a lot of beautiful souls come in that are young people, artists and musicians. I want to kill myself. No, you don't want to come out. You're on this dance of life. It's so dark, she says. I'm an artist and I can't stand it. How old are you, dear? I'm 20. You're a young soul. You're an old soul that's come there. You have memories of when things of a better place. But this planet is so important to our world, our universe. In this galaxy, it's the only place that contains water. A crystalline energy. A crystalline energy called water. It's vibrant. It transmits information. Chinese and Japanese, the Japanese science proved it. Put water and generate love into it. We can change the molecular structure of water with thought, with Reiki, energy healing, anything. Qigong. Or if we got negative feelings, we affect everything. Water transmits negative energy, and water transmits love. And you can take the structure of water. You got to purify it. But he started experimenting with this Japanese scientist. And he took the water and he put a heat on it. Heat on the water. Froze the water and brought it back, and the crystalline structure was pure. So the quantum reality is making sense. We're using Newtonian. Thought travels. Oh, hell yeah. We don't know how powerful we are. But we create so much dark energy in our confusion. So, what happened to mysticism, the divine inner essence of what Jesus spoke of? We can do these miracles and even greater. What happened? What happened? Illuminati's still in control. They're disempowering you. They're breaking up and dividing you up. And you can't see around you like people want to leave India. People want to leave other countries and come here. But you don't know how bad this country is. What is happiness? What do we weigh it on? Materialism? Or do we weigh it on gratitude? Doesn't mean that we can't enjoy things and have a good life. But if we got a life that's the planet's being destroyed on and fossil fuels everywhere, is Canada a good country to come to? It's North America. The crime rates are going up around the world because duality, anger. What's caused the anger? The media is the message. Marshall McLuhan. Well, let's flood it with a lot of anger, a lot of duality, a lot of hate. Let's just keep them distracted. The television was getting that way. I could not stand television. I couldn't take it. It was depressing. And it seemed like a controlled Big Brother. You know, there's laws in our country and common decency. But the way they were putting it across was making me puke. It was so authoritarian. The news services around here, so authoritarian. Well, you know, and I ask you to do something and I make a rule in the business. People get resistant to it because of this control. And when I train a horse, I don't whip them. I show them a better way. And that's the way we're supposed to work with people. With kindness, with, you know, we have to have boundaries because the world's so divided up. But, and I want my way. But your way, husband, doesn't go with my way. And we got a lot of divorce and marriage is not working. Worse now than we ever did. All these men on here talking about their rights. Their way. Go and be you alone. You know what I think? Be you alone. Figure out what you've done wrong with humility. Every man needs some humble time alone to be a man. Because God sent Eve for man. He's not meant to be alone. And he's not meant to dishonor his wife and cheat on her and break her heart. And he's meant to be kind. He's meant to be a gentleman. But that got out of the picture. We got into the egoic, toxic male. And I see that on here a lot. Telling men how to be. You guys are young. And then you say us old guys are old. I'm here because God kept me alive to tell a message, to tell you that you're powerful people, but you're not, you disempower by dividing up and hating people. Hate is a real good low vibe form, but it seems so prevalently loud and it amplifies. The love energy is just so soft, different frequency. And it's soft and kind and gentle, and that's why women love love. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for, and you want to tame a woman? You love her more. You get out of your ego. You're losing that ego. She's going to shift you. Is it wrong? It's losing control. Because the man doesn't know where he's going. To respect a woman. To love her. Romance is gone. We got pornography now. We got everything. It's getting sick. You go on YouTube, Facebook, all these girls are naked half the time. So I was in the bar one day and there's a pretty girl there, and I said, "You're different than those other girls." What'd she say? "Yes, sir, I am. You're wearing a nice hat and you're dressed nice and you're very feminine. Why are you that way, my dear? You're such a pretty thing and you dress like a lady." My mother died and Dad raised me. I love my dad and I want to have a husband like him. So he taught me what men like him. I'm a good man. So I dress like a lady. Is that misogyny? It could be. I don't really find big boobs, big tits, and big tattoos and garbage all over your body. It's anything I enjoy in a woman. I find femininity, being a lady, something I that's why older men like Asian girls. And I agree with that. But the society's put social standards on you to be these ways. It's not freedom. You talk about freedom. I had a young woman want to come into Canada. She wanted to marry me. And she's showing me her boobs and everything to get me in, get her in. She's a marriage fraud. She's from Bangladesh. She doesn't like the repressive. The clergy, they won't allow her to wear tattoos. So she shows me a picture of what she wants her body. Full tats. These other girls here have. Because she's never enough because of her culture. We've divided up cultures. She's Muslim and she wants to drop the clergy, the Muslim faith, so she can have tattoos. She's just after me all the time on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And she's taken her name and put my name in it, like we're married. And she tells me why she wants to be a Canadian. Yada, 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 yada. I like this music and I like the tattoos. You're a Muslim and you're in Bangladesh with your family and your father's sick and your mother's working away. You're looking at another field of possibilities, and you want to marry a man because he's Canadian. I'm not a Canadian. I'm just a man. I'm a free man in Paris. I'm a man of the world. I'm a man of everything. So I don't want to call myself a Canadian. I was born here, of Aboriginal culture from Australia that was abandoned by the Australian colonization of garbage. I think Australia's only problem is the capitalist system of money laundering in the real estate market. But they did heal the indigenous problem. Their economy's come up, but they got a real estate flood, and nobody would listen to that woman. The Prime Minister wouldn't listen to her. She dumped all the information that's coming in from the CIA and everything, money laundering coming across the system. The Beverly in England, oh hell, that's going on here too. It's all over the world. It's just this Illuminati of money laundering and letting systems flood the market, open up the portal, and that's what the Bible said. There's 4 portals in the apocalypse. I think it's apocalyptic. I think Edgar Cayce is absolutely right. Zombies. There's zombies everywhere. We're all zombies, believing all the garbage out there of misinformation. And we're wandering around hating each other. Hating women, hating equality. We're the zombie apocalypse. And that's Casey's right. So the Earth's cooking. The Earth's in a drastic change. There's a lot of energy coming in. And what did the revelations predict this? That we have to go within our hearts and be. The end of growth is a different sort of a scenario. The end of growth is going back to not primitive ways, but going back to cooperative, small grassroots communities across the planet, working together in units and growing our gardens and growing food and being happy and loving each other. The problem of gratitude, there is no gratitude. It's always the next best Western. There's no gratitude. You're just thinking of what's next. In the present moment, there's gratitude. And what's causing depression? No gratitude, the elimination of being grateful. Nothing sells if it's. You can't get autograph. It doesn't sell if you like it and I got enough. Yeah. I was thinking of the old saying, the man in the sea sitting there. And he says, why aren't you out there fishing? Well, I'm enjoying the sunset. Well, you could be out there fishing and working more and buy. He says, what would that do? You could buy more boats. And what would that do? Well, I'd hire you more ships and more boats. And you could sit back and look at the sunset. But the old fisherman says, I am looking at the sunset. What happened there? What happened? I am looking at the sunset. Yeah, I keep on thinking, and they tell you gotta have a big Maserati, a big Ferrari. Yeah, because it's got 12 cylinders and it runs really loud. There's one here. And you gotta be heard. Be louder than the other guy. Because we're losing our self-identity. So we build an ego What's that? Just acceleration. Electric car. Why? Feet. I put my shoes on. I don't make a lot of noise. I walk up to people. Ooh, you scared me because I don't want to be noisy. But why are we doing this? We got all this noise, this traffic, fast cars. I saw a guy driving a Maserati, friggin' loud. Whoa! And the engines are just backing fire and everything. She's got a lot of power. She's just like a coffin on wheels. Why does he want it? Because he wants all those chickies to love him. Yeah, if you can find a woman that love you for just giving her a life and honoring her, you don't have to be better than anybody else. You have to love her with all your heart and all your soul, just like you love your God. You should love other people too. I always had a lot of hardships looking at envy. It always hurt me. It didn't feel right. So we don't feel anything anymore. We take drugs, we smoke pot, we go to the shrink, take medication. Don't want to feel anything. We're numb. I decided to feel things. And I just look at how the Illuminati have made it that creativity is a mental illness. It's bipolar. Every friggin' person that's creative has got bipolarity. Illuminati, dark side, they don't want empowerment. Everybody's creative, but that's a mental illness. Conservative concepts of thinking. You come up with something different, we don't like it. It's new, but you always want new. But it's got to be them producing this. So I really question the thought of man right now. You know, the Roshi said, "You must be crazy." He said, "You must be crazy." He says, "You want all the things you haven't got, but you don't want the things you got. That's crazy." I've been taken down pretty bad. It's just I don't like living here because all these people want things. And they're going around trying to kill people out here. It's getting worse. It's drugs. You know, it's never ended. Fentanyl, opioids, police getting murdered. Oh, hell, hell. So we get immigrants in here, and then we start blaming the immigrants, and then we start blaming each other. Nobody can see out of the way because it's such a cesspool of hatred and blame game and never finding a solution at being blame blame the immigrants, blame the women, blame the society, blame game, blame the authorities, blame everything. But we never ever game with blame. The blame game. Isn't that simple? The blame game. Pointing fingers. Division bells. Always ringing. But we've been so divided up in Canada over unimportant things like homosexuality, gender rights, everything gets ridiculous. And transgender washings. Some guy's going to fight over that. Just go to another washroom, man. Pee outside. You don't like it, just don't deal with it. But look at Jurgen. Like, loves the king there. He's defending that it's not his right to say he, she, or whatever. It's just something that happened there, Jorgie. And you're not very diversified. So, you got all these people that are thinkers, and you're not thinking for yourself. So I get the oracle decks, and they say the fool, and the other fool is this idea that somebody's better than you, and they know more. And the professors, they're dictators. Jorgen Peterson's a dictator. Rex Murphy, they're all oil sector. They're all lying to you, and they're just angry men. And other young guys are so lost they gotta follow somebody. They fall in the wrong bachelor herd. What do you follow? Know yourself. Know thyself. That's when maybe it woke me up. 1970s, I was working on psychic development with a woman. I was a psychic. Know thyself was the book that came from the United States. She had a lot of hardships. Her husband took a 357 Magnum, pointed at her head. So she got out of the United States. She was crazy. And she moved up here and became a psychic empath. Taught us psychic development. But they say it doesn't exist. I find women very empathic in that they don't even want to talk about it because of the gaslighting system that probably the Illuminati put in place to disempower women. They have psychic gifts, and they don't want to talk about it because they're frightened of the gaslighting system. You've created so much friggin' fear in this society with women that you're repressive sons of bitches. See, I'm angry. So there's a division. I don't feel like a man anymore. I feel like we've hurt women so bad. And we're on here with this rubbish about masculine. Well, that's the way the devil wants it to be, the masculine. And there's women's rights are gone. You can't even be a guy anymore. You gotta be a douchebag. I'm angry there. I've always stood for equality. That's why I left the church. They were running down her right to have a miniskirt on. Now, if she's got tattoos, I don't like them, but I like skirts. And it was the 70s, and it was a new fashion, the miniskirt. It was more of a liberated system. Dar Williams wrote a song, and I really like it. When I was a boy. She's talking in a feminine element of what it's like to be a woman. As cool as I am. The Mercy of the Fallen, great music. And if anything's coming through in music, not Janet, no, Dar Williams, coming through in women's music, it's in their songs. I'm not afraid of women. I'm as cool as I am. Because that's the way they were dividing up. They got women jealous of women. But it's a sisterhood. There's a brotherhood on earth, too. But brothers and sisters of this earth is one thing. My dearest loving sister. I have sisters. They're not blood relatives. They're my spiritual tribe of many colors, of beautiful souls that are waking up all over the world. And they're listening to the repressive masculine they're here all the time. But they're so pure in heart, they don't get angry. They probably do get triggered, but they stay calm. Because that's a woman's, when she's waking up spiritually, her beauty comes out in her heart and her soul. She becomes a divine being, a goddess. We need the goddess element on this earth. And we need men to bow down to their queen. Yeah, men bowing down to the Queen of Hearts. Teach us the heart, not the head, not the ego, not the, what do you call it? All these terms of men, kind man, gentleman, Renaissance man, man of many seasons, the gentle, kind soul the women need now. The prehistoric monster going out there and defending the world. They need a bit of that, but actually, if you love them, that's all you need. So the kindness was what Jesus spoke. All of them have spoke. All spiritual teachers of truth are kind. The ones that are speaking are narcissistic leaders. Be careful of the ones that are so certain of their rank and denounce other faiths, other traditions. Be careful. They'll lead you down the wrong path. So I will not put names to them. Because you have within you the inner discernment to know what truth is. That's why the dark times have come. So you can discern spiritually without them telling you what to do. Anybody that's trying to conform you to some sort of ideology, well, they get spun around. Look at Jordan Peterson. He's talking about misogynist. But he is a misogynist. So you got to watch the trick meanings here and what they're saying. Kind men do not follow Jordan Peterson. Kind men do not need 12 principles of life. They have one principle. Love your wife with all your heart and don't judge her. That's all you're doing. You're judging women. And you're wondering why you're so alone. Well, you've had all this stupid social media stuff and then dating apps, and you don't feel good enough. I'm alone, but I don't care. I have had a hard life here. Listening to a bunch of people say I need a nursing home. That's the trucker boys and talk about freedom without civil restraint. Civil restraint is everybody has freedom. Libertarian is just me. That's freedom. We've had this me world of the ego for a long time. And they say you need a nursing home. You're senile. That's the way they always talk. They're just angry, so they're really senile. Yeah. They anger people. The real estate markets are through the top and they justify it. And refusing housing from people. Refuse it. You haven't got a good credit score. How do you get good credit score when you can't get a house to live in? And your family takes you down. No, I don't care. Bitterness? It's a very difficult time for me right now. I don't like living here. I want out of Canada. I hate the country now. I hate the duality. I hate the arguments. I hate the right wing and the left wing argument. We can't settle on anything. And there's no, you got to take everybody to court. And you can't even afford a lawyer. I can't stand it anymore. You shouldn't even have that. Narcissism. Controllers. And it came in with Zuckerberg, the likes. And it came in with a lot of things. Narcissism. I'm so exhausted listening to garbage. And I hear it all on here, and it's just getting to me. Wearing me down like a hatred and anger does, like water running over granite and wearing the granite away. So, how tough are you to take all the granite and let the water overflow you? Nothing's tough.